My name is Whitney and I'm here with Blick Art Materials presenting how to decorate your very own glitter holiday decor piece. And don't worry, you're not going to have to build this entire reindeer yourself. I am using the Decopatch Décor paper mache animal trophy. And Decopatch actually has, I want to say hundreds, it's not hundreds, but they have so many different animals and different sort of mounted trophy heads like this, as well as full standing animals. I have a fun one down here I'm going to pull up. Now we won't be decorating this, but how fun is that? And they also even have a full-size, human-size unicorn, there's a giraffe, I think an elephant, certainly an elephant trophy head. So many. And they do come in different sizes. In the mounted trophy heads as well. This is the extra large unicorn. Some assembly required here. But these are really, really fun and really versatile. So if you wanted to make a different animal, you could certainly do that. There are lots of options out there for you. I'm gonna stick with, this is actually their deer animal trophy. And we're going to start by coating this in, I used black gesso from Utrecht, and you could also use a regular, well, this one's gold, but you could use a gold or black or silver Blick acrylic paint. All of these are going to give you a great starting surface. You can see the difference here in your base coat of choice. So here I've used silver, and here I have black. And the same glitter is applied on both. I believe the same amount of coats, or very close to. You'll see, we're gonna add a lot of glitter to this guy. So I'm gonna put that aside. I do have one here that I've already painted because, let's face it, we're just putting on some paint, and I am gonna do that with the glitter here. So I have chosen, and my favorite of this trio is really the ModPodge Silver Mega Glitter. This does also come in a holographic glitter, and that is this piece here. It's done with the holographic glitter. And there's also, oh, I don't have one on black, but I have gold on gold here as well. I really like the contrast that you get when using a black surface though. And we're really just going to very quickly, partially because, you know, I don't want to bore you by painting for too long, but also, this is just a process that lends itself to being quick. You can see how much we've covered and very little paint. I will say the antlers are probably the trickiest part to paint. And I am gonna hold this while I do it. As I've found you can rest it on a table, maybe with some plastic underneath, so you don't mess up your surface or accidentally glitterize your kitchen table, unless you want to. But really, it's just a lot easier to hold it because you can move the piece around. This is a three-dimensional piece, so you're going to want to move it some. But without it even being dry yet, and with only one coat, you can see just how much glitter you are getting there. So ModPodge is not messing around. When they say mega glitter, they really mean mega glitter. All right, and I'll back up a little bit and say when using gesso or acrylic paint for that base coat, you will also be sort of tacking down any of those areas where, let me pull this one over, where it may look like the paper's a little frayed. These are paper mache, so they're gonna have little paper bits that maybe didn't want to stay totally stuck down. And that first coat of paint is going to help you do that. But don't get too fussy with it. Don't worry about it too much if there's a piece that pops out, because the way that we are coating this with the glitter, it will not show in the end. All right, I'm gonna keep going here. And I will say, you know, I don't know if it was known when I was chosen to present this project, but in my personal artwork, we are all artists, those of us who present here, I actually make enormous glitter paintings. So now you all know. And maybe I will throw some images in our Facebook community group for everybody. And because when I say giant glitter paintings, I mean like 6 by 6 foot, all glitter and resin and pigment. And they are so fun. And there's really a lot you can do with glitter. And it used to be, I feel like, when I was a kid, there were only so many colors, right? Like you had your multi-glitter and some basics, and now you can get holographic glitter, and there's even phosphorescent glow-in-the-dark glitter, which that would be so cool on one of these guys. I did not make one of those for you, but that's okay. It wouldn't show up on our camera system here anyways. But I definitely urge you to check that out. All right, so, you know, maybe 5 minutes and you've got the start to a beautiful glitter deer. Now, each of these has 3 coats of glitter. And I did finish it off to seal it. Instead of using a regular sealant, I used the, let me put this aside so I can show you. All right. I used hologram glitter effect spray from Montana Spray Paints. And what this did is it really has this same coloring. It's sort of like an every color glitter, but they're extra shiny, and these are very, very fine particles because we're talking about something that can release through that tiny nozzle, right? So it's a really, really fine mist of glitter. It's not going to be effective to completely coat the piece and get this kind of glittered effect, but when you use it as a sealant on top, it just adds that like extra little sparkle, which is really fantastic. Okay, so I'm gonna put this aside again, and we're gonna move on to the second phase of the project. Now, hopefully you all saw that we have a bundle page in the link in the we have a bundle page link in the description, and you can click on that. All of the materials that I'm using here are listed on that bundle page, and some of you, put that away, some of you may have actually checked that out beforehand, and hopefully you're able to follow along. This is a really fun project for that. And it's super quick. All right, and you are gonna get glittered. It's not as bad as having loose glitter, let me tell you. So we're gonna move on to our embellishments for our beautiful glitter reindeer here. And I've just made some little flower laurels and a little headdress. And really, I love when I can recycle a project, right? Where I can take an idea that I already had and use it in something else entirely. So some of you may have been following along with us through this past year, and you may have even seen our holiday series last year, where I made a holiday garland. Just gonna pull this up here. And this was the holiday garland. I'm not gonna go into how to make this. You can definitely check out the video. These are really great companion projects, I think. But what I did do is the flowers that we're making are these poinsettia flowers. In fact, I even used the same template that I made you all last year. I just made it smaller. So let's make a flower. Let's start here. I've already beaded this. Would not be fun to watch me try to bead something. I have a tendency to lean over on the table, and then all you see is my head, and then Tessa has to tell me to back up. And so I've already done this one. We're gonna make a couple. You might get to see me make a total fool of myself later on here. And I've chosen these lovely hot pink and silver beads to match the flower, but really any color will do. And this is going to be, let me pull a finished one here on view. And those are visible, right, Tessa? Mm-hmm. Awesome. All right, so I have my thin copper wire. Copper is great because obviously super flexible. And I'm just gonna give it a little twist and another little twist. Give it like 7 little twists and put those ends together. Oops, I forgot to mention these kind of mangled looking ends that I have here are not because I made any sort of mistake. It's actually to help keep the beads on. And you will definitely want to, when beading, give a nice twist to one side, or even just fold it over on itself like that. And that's going to keep your beads from sliding off as you're sliding them on. Nothing worse than just watching them go right down the other side and off the table, onto the floor, or into your carpet. Never to be seen of again. So definitely make sure you somehow have a little stopper there. But now that we've had it twisted, it's a bit of a moot point. They're not going to fall off at this point. And I'm just going to, very technical term here, going to smoosh it. I'm going to just give it a little twist, a little wiggle, and a little smoosh. Smoosh, smoosh. Oop, sorry. That's why we have Tessa. Hold it further out. How will you see? How will you smoosh? All right. That seems pretty good and smooshed. We're going to start with this larger flower here. So I started with about, oh goodness, maybe 1.5 inches worth of beads. And now I have this lovely smoosh of a stamen. And I have some extra wire here. And that is going to be sort of the central point that I build the flower around. I have some already pre-cut here. And you don't really need many pieces. In fact, for everything I've made here, I think I haven't even used a whole sheet of felt. This is what I've cut from. So these really go a long way. And I'm using the Kunin glitter felt because of course we have a glitter deer, we need glitter felt accessories for our glitter deer. You could also, if you're using the hologram glitter spray to seal it, you could always add a little extra as well at the end. I also have my hot glue gun here. It's set to low, and because these are so tiny, it's be careful. This nozzle, even when it's set to low, the nozzle is going to be warm. I've found for this particular process, it's best to not try to squeeze the glue out onto the petal, but to actually have a bit of glue on the gun and then kind of just pick it up with the petal. And don't worry about those messy hot glue strings. I know they're annoying, but we'll take care of them at the end. And be careful. I'm going right in here, right, and touching that hot glue. And that is something I feel comfortable with doing, but I don't want anyone to burn themselves. So go slow and make sure that you're being safe with your tools. I do also want to add, it is important for this process that we're using hot glue. If you've seen our other videos, you know I love Aleene's tacky glue. It's amazing. But in this particular instance, oh, sorry. See, my friend Tessa is going to be telling me to hold these out further a lot. I want to tell you all, this is not how you will be making yours necessarily held out, and I have to remind myself, because when I make the examples, I basically make them like this. And that would be weird to do, even though I just showed you. So she's going to be reminding me. You might have to do it a few more times, Tessa. I'm sorry. All right. So as much as I love tacky glue, and I think it would can solve all the world's problems, it cannot glue felt to felt very easily. It can get it done, but this is going to be a lot faster for you. It's just that felt is so absorbent by nature that really it's going to soak up all that glue, and then there's going to be none left outside of the piece for it to bond. So that is why we're using hot glue and being careful not to burn our fingers. Now I have a bigger petal, and you can see I did just go right on there with the glue. And we are making this tricolor poinsettia. So I started with my smallest petal size in red, and now I'm moving on to the fuchsia. And we press. And don't get too picky about this petal. I think it's sticking out too far. I'm going to move along because we can always come back at the end and trim these up. So let's just get our petals on and see what we're working with. You can see I have 3 in sort of a triad triangle shape, and now I'm filling in between those petals with another petal. All right, and one more. That also goes for, I know I'm not cutting these out with you, and unlike this project where, you know, the felt garland, I asked you to cut a million felt leaves and felt petals. You only need a few for this, and they're very tiny, so it goes quickly, but it can be frustrating if you're trying to make them all perfect and exactly like the template. Then you'll get frustrated. So don't make them perfect. It's not going to matter. That one was all kinds of misshapen. I have a cut line there, and now it's on the flower, and it's just fine. So allow yourself that little bit of patience. It's all gonna work out. Now I'm moving on to the purple. I should tell you this purple actually is not from the glitter line, but I really love how it has some dimension to the color. It's actually made up of a few different fibers. And I think it really complements these two well. Honestly, this is going to be artist choice. I have the colors I'm using listed in the bundle page, but you can choose to make whatever color flower you would like. And we're just going around and gluing. And press. And you'll start to notice as we continue to add petals, this base is really building up. It's getting quite thick, right? And I like to work with it in hand. You can also, at this point, it's big enough to stand on its own. And you may find it's easier to work that way. I'm just gonna keep adding. I think I like to hold it so I can see where I'm placing it, especially for these outer petals. As you can see, there really isn't an exact in between a petal anymore. So even the number of outer petals that you choose is really going to be dependent on your aesthetic. If you think you need 5 or 6 maybe to fill in a gap, or it's really going to be artist choice. So we have that there. Okay. And looks off balance. I want one behind here. Kind of peeking out. Now, there. You have some time before your hot glue dries, where you can fiddle and wiggle around your petals. All right, so that's pretty much, I want one more. Sorry, I lied. One more petal. Okay. And we're going to add a leaf. And really, I think of leaves as they're artist choice as well. You may want to go leafless, or you may want 2, 3, 4 leaves. You may put in one, and then later when we attach it to the base, you'll decide you want more, and that's perfectly fine. I probably should have mentioned I am using the glitter side. This felt has just a regular side and a glitter side, and you want that glitter side to be face up. Okay, so that is our larger poinsettia, and now I'm going to go back and I'm going to trim some of these up. Some of those pink ones just look a little too big, too pointy. Actually, use I love these scissors, the Fiskars Easy Action. They're actually a spring assist, and they are fabric scissors, so they really just get in there and snip away. All right. Didn't like that one. All right. So now that that's all trimmed up, We're gonna make a, oh, we have plenty of time. I think I rushed y'all through the beginning. So hopefully if you got materials beforehand, you are able to follow along. Let's make the smaller flower and just kind of clean up my workstation a little bit. All right, and now get to see me struggle to get beads on a wire without getting my head in the shot. So I have my wire here, and it's about 6-7 inches long. And I have a mix of pink and silver beads. And of course, you can choose any color bead for your stamen that you want. It's far better to bend your copper wire before you have beads in your hand, but sometimes you forget. So I'm going to do that now. And we're just sort of twisting it over. And again, that's so the beads don't slide off and go everywhere. All right, and now basically, because this is wire, it's really easy to, it's very easy to kind of just poke them. And you got a bead. And you got a bead. And just let them slide down. As long as you've bunched up the end of the wire so they don't slide all the way down and off the wire, you're gonna be all right. You can tell it's not a hard thing to do. I guess it's more like it's tedious. So you do have to have some patience. I mean, I have a trimmer and I can get these tiny, tiny beads on the wire, so I'm sure you've got this. Oh, I can get some of the beads on the wire. Okay, let's see, how many do I have? That's enough for a small one. Okay, so I have maybe an inch's worth of beads on the wire, and that's plenty for this smaller flower size. I'll put the rest of my beads in my very official container here. The lid to a spray paint can. And we're going to center the beads again, just like we did with the larger flower. And we're going to moosh them together and twist, twist, twist. And fold and moosh it in on itself, making a tangled mess of seed beads that is just beautiful. All right, now for the small one. I'm only using the small size from the template. And you may be wondering why they look different on this flower. And we'll talk about that as we go around. First off, it's hard to cut them all exactly the same size. So I kind of like to spread them out and look for the smallest ones. Easy peasy, right? This one. And we're just gonna, and notice I'm putting it further down. So only a little bit is gonna stick out. And I always struggle with not picking all of the glue off of my fingers immediately because I'm just one of those. I want glue on my fingers. But try to forge ahead and let it be, because you're just gonna get more glue on your fingers in a moment. It's kind of how hot glue works. All right. Just gonna hold here. All right. Okay, now I've got this like mess of hot glue, right? Because these are so tiny. I also have a, there we go. You can see all that. Not what we want to have. So, because it's going to take up space, it's a small flower, it's going to actually change the shape of it. So I'm going to go ahead and cut that off. Okay, and same, whoop, I got a lot of glue on my fingers now, folks. So now I'm going to start with my second layer of petals, but I'm using the same size flower petal. This is from the same template. I'm just pushing it up. Ooh. I'll show you on the next one. My fingers were too gluey, I'm sorry. All right, one more try. So let's see if I can get this right here for you. So we're going to push this closer to the top of your flower. It's a little bit hard to see from the glue, but those first petals, they actually come all the way down to here, and the second row comes to here. So we've got a whole like 2 centimeters of difference there. But it does make a difference when it's all done. You'll see. When things are tiny, tiny changes matter. Okay, so that's just my first and my second layer. And I'm just gonna add a few, woo, you know, I think it is time to get the glue off my fingers. All right, I'm gonna do one more layer. And really, even the number of layers in these, this is all up to you folks. This is your holiday decor. This is your beautiful glitter reindeer trophy. It's up to you. And even the base color that I chose there, like I would love to see a hot pink underneath and the bright silver glitter, like that would look really cool. It's whatever suits your taste. I will admit, with all the glitter, I have been thinking of this as my holiday punk rock disco deer. Like she's all glammed up, all sparkly, all ready to go out and have a good time. But these could certainly be done, you know, in a traditional red poinsettia to sort of make it a little more to your taste, more tasteful, more traditional, is the word I'm looking for there. This is for you. This is your art project, your decoration in the end. So own it. And actually, I meant to mention earlier, before all of this even, Decopatch also has these little stars that I have sort of scattered around the table, and those make a great tester. They come in a 5-pack, and so you have a lot of sort of small things that you can test those ideas out on. You could get the whole multi-pack of Mega Glitter from ModPodge, and you can, you know, get a few different colors of paint, see which ones you actually like the best. And before, I have a petal stuck to my fingers. You can do little tests before you go and invest a lot of time on a larger piece. Although that being said, these don't take so long. But you know, you don't want to paint something just to want to paint it again. Now, I didn't actually make smaller leaves here for this, so I'm just going to trim this one up. For the tiny flower, you want to use the second petal size that is on the template. And really, whether you do tiny ones or not is even up to you. Or if you want to do giant flowers that just totally fill and envelop and, you know, give Glitter Deer a flower mane, that would be awesome to see. And if I'm going to be posting my glitter paintings in our community group, I would love to see posts. If any of you are doing this project at home, I would love to see what those are. All right, I have some flowers here now. So I'm going to go back to my Glitter Deer here. Now this one, this is the one that I coded when we first met for this video, and you can see I still have a little glitter. It's not totally dry, and really I do a lot of artist choice, but it is. This is just one coat of glitter, and you can see it's fairly glitterized, right? I don't even know if that's a word, but it should be for this project. It is glitterized. But you might want more glitter. Obviously, hold on. I'm going to do an overhead shot for you, Tessa. Okay. Side-by-side comparisons are great. So you can see here just the difference, right? So this is one coat of glitter, and here we have 3 coats of the glitter. All right. And you can go anywhere in between or beyond. It's up to you. All right, I have one here that has 3 coats on it, and I actually used the holographic ModPodge Mega Glitter. So that is that multicolor that you're seeing on the actual plaque of the trophy. And I did use that in both of these examples. I really liked the glitter contrast. You'd be surprised what you can do with different colors of glitter. All right, so here I have my deer. Now they do have, I didn't mention it earlier, they actually have these really handy hooks. So these are already, it's going to be ready to hang when you're done, which is amazing. It does, however, mean, and because these antlers are actually heavier than the head of the deer, she's going to want to tilt back on you. And, you know, you might want to put something underneath to prop it up. I might actually, I'm going to roll some felt to prop it up, just for the video's sake, but it's fine to work on it like this as well. It shouldn't affect what you're doing too much. Am I in frame, Tessa, my friend? A little down. All right. All right. I overcompensated there. I pushed it too far out now. All right. So I have some flowers here to work with, and you're probably wondering how they get attached. Definitely with hot glue. Hot glue is the glue of all the felt projects for me. So we're going to use hot glue to attach them, but you have this long stem that's just kind of back there, right? So what do you do with that? You get rid of it. It might seem scary. Honestly, when I was testing this out, I was scared, and it's not like I even put that much time into making one tiny flower, but I didn't want to ruin it, right? I just made it. But we're going to actually go all the way back here And you can sort of see, hopefully, once you see where I'm cutting, so you know. I have it spread out here. That's my inside piece of the copper. I'm gonna hold that. So I'm basically holding the beaded stamen, right? And I'm just gonna, actually I'm gonna hold it around the base because you're cutting through a lot of felt and a lot of glue. Boom, we have a single flower. And you can see, maybe, if I get my head out of the way, you can see the layers of hot glue inside. And that's really what's gonna keep it all together. You're not, this isn't going anywhere. I'm pulling here. It's not gonna go anywhere. So we're good to put that on. I'm actually gonna trim all of these before I figure out my placement. I'm definitely the sort of person that I like to plan placement. Even when putting the flower petals on, right? I was checking them out, like, do I want you here or no here? And I think that is helpful to do with this project as well. Because you don't want to glue something down and then regret it and have to try to pull it off. Because it's not easy, let me tell you. So once as you're certain of your placement, you're good to put everything in. I almost want to give her like what if I made that an earring? I think that would be really fun. I think I can do that. All right, and we've got a headdress, and then we'll have some lovely ones down here. Down here. Yeah. Yeah, that's really fun. Okay, so to attach them, just gonna add glitter. And you might be able to tell I'm totally improvising, obviously, where I'm putting these. But that is the fun part to this project, is that you have all your little flowers, and it's up to you where they go, or how big they are, or what color they are. And they're all gonna look great because, let's face it, it's glitter felt on a glitter deer. It's gonna be awesome. Okay, and we're just hot gluing it on. Now you do want a nice sort of, I don't know what to call it, a gob of hot glue. You want a generous amount of hot glue there, and I'm just gonna press. And that's because we're working with, you might be able to see it this way. I'm really trying to, can you see here, Tessa, on the camera? Like, nah, not really. Well, I'll just move it around slowly. You're gluing it into the corner of this piece. So you really want there to be a lot of glue, 'cause you're not really sure where it's gonna grab on, right? Because you're gluing it into a corner. So be generous with the glue. It's not going to show from behind the flower, so you might as well just really load it on there. Can you see? Loaded on there. Lots of glue. That's gonna go, let's see, there. All right, we're gonna try to do this like a little funny flower earring. I actually thought after the fact with some of these it would have been fun to give them a beaded earring. I never quite got there. We can do a flower earring. Okay. And if you do end up placing something somewhere where you don't want it, I'll say it's not always easy, but you can get them off later by simply, well, this one's not dry yet, so it'll definitely come off. Basically, you want to pull the flower away so you can see as much of the base as possible where you've glued it, and take a razor blade and separate it. It's pretty tricky. An X-Acto blade would work well as well. You can also just go the brute force method where you just yank it off of there, but you might need to reapply some of your paint that way. So just so you know. And let's give our glitter deer some eyes. And to make the eyes, I'm using, once again, that handy template, the smallest size petal. But we're gonna just sort of trim around the edges and make it a little bit more almond shaped. I'm gonna set this aside. Make sure you can see. I'm just trimming a little bit away at a time because this is a really small thing. And I don't want to cut my fingers. So I'm sure you don't want to cut your fingers either. Now for the second one, I'm just going to lay that first piece down and use it as the template for the second eye. Good enough. All right, and it's nice to kind of figure out, okay, exactly where do I want my eyes? And they are gonna move again, so, but I still like to kind of feel it out and hope I remember when I come in with the glue. Now you can actually make markings to show where you want to glue this down. But one, I didn't bring a marker up here with me, and two, I don't want to see marker lines after I've glued it down. So that is up to you, but honestly, I think it's easier without. Otherwise you're trying to trace and hold and make things even, and it's just going to end up messier than just guesstimating. So that was about right there. Now I know I'm using hot glue here, and I've really talked up the hot glue for this felt project. But for the eyes, if you are worried about repositioning them, you can use something like a tacky glue, which I've actually done for these examples here. A very small piece like that will work. Beautiful. I hope you think it's beautiful. I think she's beautiful. All right, so there I have my fantastic holiday decor Decopatch animal trophy glitter deer. It's a long string of words, but she is an awesome holiday decoration. Before we go, I do have one more glitterized piece up here that I wanted to show you. And if this isn't enough glitter for you, I appreciate that. and I understand. But if you really want that full, crazy disco ball, completely coated in glitter effect, certainly you can build up lots and lots of layers with the ModPodge. But I found even when, you know, 7 layers in here or more, I kind of lost count, you're still going to have those patches that show through, which I think is fantastic still for this piece. But if you're really looking for, like I said, the disco ball completely coated, there's really only one way to get there, and that is by using loose glitter. So I have a piece here where, you know, get that glitter tray out, and it's still gonna go everywhere. I used actually just a gloss medium. Any kind of glue would work. Really, even you could use the ModPodge glitter as the base for your glitter. And you just have to pour glitter over it. And then seal it at the end. As I mentioned earlier, and I'm just gonna mention again, because I don't know if I gave it enough of a spotlight, but the hologram glitter effect spray from Montana makes a fantastic sealant for this project, and sort of helps really with these. You're not going to have glitter come off. This one's dry now. I have glitter on my hands, so it's not like I can really prove it, but glitter is not coming off of this. But if you want to give it that extra shine, a little hologram effect at the end, and make sure it has a nice coating, this Montana hologram glitter spray is great for that. I think those are all the tips and little tidbits I have. I don't have anything else fun back here. Yeah, I hope you had fun making this. I'd love to see people's projects. So if you'd like, post in our community group. And yeah, I hope you all have a lovely holiday.